All right, so it is a very rainy and cold Tuesday. I don't usually film on these days. I try to get most of my filming done when my children are off with their father, but some stuff just happened today, and I feel like it would be disingenuous of me to not film in real time what I'm feeling and what's going on and what's prevalent. So I was at first hesitant about fully disclosing the financial straits that my family is in. And I've touched on it a bit, but I didn't want to like hammer it home because I didn't want, well, I thought that if I discussed it or put it out there heavily, that it would somehow negate the potential that I have and what my skill sets are, and it would portray me as a failure. But clearly I'm not a failure, and I am doing the soul searching and understanding that it is not a failure that my family currently is in a financial struggle. There are many factors as to why it is happening. And me not being in a good financial place myself is not indicative of what I am capable in the business world. And I think that I was still struggling with that thought. Funny enough, in 2008, while I was in my final term of my economics major at Florida State University, I was in a high level, obviously a 4,000 level economics class, and we had to write a term paper on who we felt would be a great president and why, and what kind of government structure that would look like from a financial standpoint. And 2008, we were at the precipice of financial crumble. And so it was very important in those classes to have those discussions. And I wrote my paper on how Donald Trump would be an incredible president and how he possessed the ability to bounce back from so many bankruptcies. And as our country was falling into further and further debt, I felt that he exhibited the financial and business expertise to be able to bounce back from those things. Now, I'm not getting into a political conversation here about this. The point that I bring up on that is I just reflected on it and thought, I was a kid in college, and my thought of what would be the best to lead our country financially was somebody who was known for failure, because they were known for failure and bringing it back. So the current failures that I'm in, and I've talked about how I enjoy failure, but the current financial failure that I'm exhibiting, well, I recognize I hold responsibility in that. The way that my family had been set up was that I entered into a marriage where I was the sole primary caregiver while my now soon to be former husband worked. And that was his job. We could not afford childcare, and so I was at home taking care of two children. And that's what I did. When our marriage first began to crumble, I went out into the fitness world where I had previously worked. And despite being told I shouldn't be doing it and that it was bad for our family, I did it. And I would bring my youngest at the time, Raleigh, I would bring him to work with me. And I worked my butt off, and I became the best in our industry there. And I proved to myself that I could do these incredible things. And our family, just the way that it has constantly been, and then with becoming permanently disabled, there has been this up and down of what I have been contributing, what I've had to. My focus for the past over a year since I've been home from Paris has been being a primary caregiver to my children. And that doesn't afford me the ability to have a standard job, especially while battling cancer, going through a very contentious divorce, trying to stay safe as I have left a domestic violence situation. And there's other stuff that's been going on. And so what I've been able to contribute to my family financially has not been great this year. We've been relying very heavily on the funds that I won during the games, but that only comes around. Operation Gold is only every 4 years. Yes, there's a small amount that you can win for world championships, but whereas at games you get money for every single event you place or win in, Operation Gold only gives you your highest ranking at whatever competition that year they choose. This past year, it was World Championships. So our ability to make money as swimmers is very limited. I've talked about that in the past. This year, that money has gone to sustaining life. We've had emergency instances at the house where those expenses are supposed to be covered by another party, and I had to pay for them. Legal fees, lawyers, they cost a lot of money. When you are going through a divorce with somebody who is a domestic violence abuser and has had coercive control over you and financial control over you for over a decade, they're not going to be willing to let that go lightly. And I have paid a lot of that winning money towards my legal fees. And it's a real shame because it's just trying to do what's best for the little ones. And I've just watched the bank account dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. And we're at a point where we need to have income flowing in. And that's where this, drive has come from, is because you realize those checks aren't coming in. You realize that the actions of another person are to hinder your ability to get the money that's been ordered to you. And so when somebody else wants to take those matters into your hands, like, there's nothing else that you can do but work. And so I'm doing that. But like I said, I've been reluctant to discuss truly how bad it has been. And I've mentioned that our house is in foreclosure proceedings and we've had utilities turned off, which is exactly what brought me to here today. I was just getting out of a bath and I heard somebody at my house. And when I looked on my cameras, I saw it was a man in a pickup truck with a yellow safety vest on. I tried to get down to the door before he drove away. It's very difficult when you're disabled to move quickly and get to people. I thought it was the gas company coming to turn off our gas because we had received notice last week prior to Thanksgiving that the gas would be shut off because the payment plan that was put in place has not been being paid. I am not ordered to pay that. Somebody else is, and they've not been doing that. That has been something that we have been dealing with for over a year now, where utilities get shut off and then I have to scramble to do whatever I can to get them turned on, but I don't have access to those accounts. They're not in my name, and I'm ordered that they're not my responsibility, and taking over ownership of them would have me in a place where I would be taking responsibility for debts that are not my responsibility. So, it was a very scary moment. I could not get his attention, but I did not see a notice. And I came into my kitchen and I turned on my gas, my stove. And the flame took a second to light up, and that was scary because I was like, oh, it's not going to click on. And then it did. And then I tried another burner and it did. And then I worried, oh no, was it the water? So I go over to the sink and I turn the water on. The water runs fine. And in my head, I'm just like, okay, did I get enough laundry done? Like, do we have enough clothes? All of that stuff. Because that's the worry that I live every day, is what is going to get turned off? Is the sheriff going to show up and take the house? Because somebody is using coercive control over us to continue within legal constraints to abuse. And it's horrible for my children. And I'm reluctant to say my, because I hate ownership of humans. It's scary for the tinies, and it's scary. I went then to the cameras, and it was just a delivery. It was just a delivery. Our utilities haven't been turned off today. But it made me sit there and go, I'm putting out this projection of success, and I am successful. I'm not being a financial failure currently is not indicative of who I am as a person or the successes that I'm capable of. But like I said, I felt I needed to come and give transparency on that authenticity. I've promised myself through this project that I'm going to do that. There are some things in my life that I am obviously going to continue to keep private for safety reasons. But in this case, I'm not going to worry about not talking about this because I am trying to land a lucrative business opportunity and partnership, and I don't want to be afraid that that person is going to look at me as incompetent. If the president of our country can go bankrupt that many times and bounce back to succeed, then this is just the down before I rise again. And 2026 is definitely going to be the year of the Phoenix. And I say that wholeheartedly. And I know exactly what that means to somebody who's watching this, but I am the Phoenix. And I will rise. And I'm taking ownership of the Phoenix. And 2026 is going to be incredible. And when I close this chapter finally and move away from the anchor that has been holding me back, I will be able to navigate, because I am the compass, and I will be able to find the way for this family. And never, ever again will my family worry about if the man in the yellow vest is there to turn off the utilities because an abuser doesn't want to understand that he doesn't have control anymore. So this is a very empowering video, and I hope that people have stayed to watch to the end, because this is where it really is all starting. And for those who are following right now, you get to have a glimpse into what would be called delusional manifestation of what I am about to create. And I will speak it into existence, and I will publish it, and I will not have fear that I am saying this, but I will be the most successful financial member of my entire lineage, which says a lot. And I will create income streams that will never run dry, and I'll set my children up for the prosperity that they deserve. And never again will I worry about if I can pay this bill or pay that bill, or when I get a surprise invoice for something that's baseless, if I can pay it or not. So for all of those out there who are praying on this downfall, who are excited to hear about the struggles I'm going through, it's all going to be up in flames, and the Phoenix will rise, and I'm sure you'll be pissed, but that's a you problem, not a me problem. So this might not be the greatest glimpse for everyone to see, but this is who I am, and I'm not going to hide it anymore. So yeah, I'll see you guys around.